sounds like Super Mario at the end. Hey everyone, it's Mike here from The Art of Guitar. I know a lot of people love the Bad Tab series as well as my Metallica videos, so today I thought I would put those two things together and add a third element that I've never done before, which is the bass guitar on a Bad Tab video. And what's the perfect book to start with? And Justice for All by Metallica. There's that joke that if you buy the bass tab for And Justice for All, it's just 80 blank pages. I thought that was hilarious because if you don't know, if you listen to the mix of And Justice for All, you can't hear the bass. I think Lars Ulrich turned it down during the final mix for some reason, so you could hear everything really clearly. You know, it's punchy, it's powerful, but you just can't hear the bass guitar. You could feel it, but it's just not very audible. And I remember realizing this early on. I was 12 years old and I was watching the one video, and there's a part where it looks like Jason's playing a whole bunch of stuff, but you don't really hear it going on. So that was the first thing to tip me off that something just wasn't right with this mix. But now with time passing and with technology, we're able to bring back some of those bass lines. Most of them come from the Guitar Hero versions where each track was isolated, and so we get to hear them today, and I have the luxury of being able to hear things and to learn them the right way. That's why I feel really bad for Steve G, I'm just going to use his last initial, for having to transcribe an album where you can't even hear the instrument you're trying to transcribe. So just so you know, Steve, my heart goes out to you for having to transcribe this album, and I believe we could still have fun with this video while still understanding your plight. Okay, so here's the book right here. And I'm going to be using the Game Boy, the original Game Boy, as the page holder. This thing actually still works. So even though somebody else transcribed it, Wolf Marshall did the introduction to it, like he does for a lot of books. And there's a part that killed me. He talked about how in bands, a lot of the times the singers get the attention, or the lead guitar players, or even the drummers. But the bass players are usually overlooked. And then he says, can you imagine your favorite metal groove without the driving, relentless bass line? And I thought that was so funny. I was like, yes, I can. Quite easily, actually. It's this entire album. And then he goes on to describe all the gear that Jason used to get his tone, and he never once mentions the fact that you can't hear it anyway on the album. So he either got a different mix than we all got, or he has superhuman hearing or something. Okay, let's talk about Blackened. I think it's going to make a lot of guitar players mad, because the first riff that they kick into is actually done correctly, versus the guitar version, which is so far off. So how ironic is that the bass tab book gets it right, but you can't hear it? And the guitar version gets it wrong, and it's right up in your face. Another part that they get right versus the guitar version is the actual main riff. In the bass tab book, they have us playing up here at the 7th fret, which is correct. But in the guitar version, if you watch my video, you know what I'm talking about already. They have us play it here on the D string 2nd fret with these weird mutes. All right, let's jump to the chorus. Now I'm going to be talking about a few things that don't seem like a big deal unless you try to play the song full speed or with a band, let's say, and all of a sudden there's all this extra stuff that you really don't need to do. That's frustrating when the wrong version makes you work harder than the actual real version. So in the chorus in the book, they say to go. Whereas if you listen to the actual version, it's just this. So all that time that you're holding out notes, you could be resting your wrist, let's say, and just taking a breather, because this song is so intense you need all the little breaks you can get. The book, however, does not allow you that luxury. One of my favorite parts of Blackened is when they just hold out the E note, and then there's the build up into the bridge. It's one of the most powerful parts, in my opinion. So after you hit the E, for some reason they say that it's a 7/4 measure. It's not, it's just 4/4, but whatever. You hold out the E, and then there's a build up. It's supposed to be at the 6th fret. But they don't do that. They build up on the E, which is incorrect. Then they skip these really cool double sixes. They just take them out completely. When the vocals come in for the bridge, the bass is supposed to go like this for the most part. But here's what the book says to do. That is so complicated. There's a really sweet descending part that happens where there's a harmonized guitar part going on over the top of it. It's supposed to be this simple. Very systematic walk downs, just like that. What does the book say to do? You could have just been chilling and descending, but nope, you had to do all that craziness. Then when the solo actually kicks in, watch this. What, sounds like Super Mario at the end. When you hear the real version, it's this simple. Way better than going at the very end. That just is so funny. By the way, they say you have to jump that far too. They don't make it easy and have you play that Mario part down here. They have you play it way up here just to mess with you. You know when the solo kicks in and it's blazing fast? Right before they do that, there's a bunch of hits. For some reason, the bass tab book tells you that you're supposed to go like this. Like it's some surf tune or something. That is wild. You're really supposed to kick into the... But no, the book says to go. I would love if I saw a Metallica tribute band play and the bass player learned out of this book and all of a sudden he kicks into surf music during that solo. Okay, now let's talk about the actual song and Justice for All. If you listen to it, you can't really hear what the bass is doing in the beginning for obvious reasons, but there's a walk down part that sounds like this. To me, that's what it sounds like it's doing. There's no official isolated track from the album that I know of. I know somebody recreated it, but I can't count on that 100%. But the book adds a bunch of stuff that I don't think has to be there. Surprise, surprise, they keep doing that. So the book says to go like this. That sounds great, but I seriously think the guy just made up a bass line that he would play over the top of that. Now, the next part's a little bit maddening because if you know anything about music theory and you know patterns, this shouldn't have happened. So it's the end of the solo and the bass line's supposed to go like this. It's a pretty sweet bass line. In the book, they have us mysteriously playing a C sharp out of nowhere, and it doesn't fit the scale that we're playing, it doesn't fit anything we've been doing, so that's why it's kind of maddening. Doesn't that sound out of place? It doesn't do that in the guitar book, so if your whole band's learning out of tab books back in the day, someone's going to get in a fight. Okay, Eye of the Beholder killed me. Here's why. Right off the bat, they have the main riff flipped around. So they want us to start with the 2 hits as the beginning of the riff like this. And then play the 8 open notes. So it's completely backwards. So here's what they say. That is not the riff. This is the riff. 2, 3, 4. And because they have it flipped, the next part where they go to G is just screwed up to read, like this. And then we're supposed to repeat from there, so mind-blowing. It's really just supposed to be... Another reason why that's weird is because during the verses, they have us going like this, which is correct. You'd think that the transcriber would see that and go, wait a minute, maybe that's what the intro does too. All right, this book has us doing a lot of octave jumps when you really don't have to. You could just ride on the E string and be okay. So you should just be able to go like this. Love that part. But Stevie G wants us to jump up to this high octave a whole bunch of times. It sounds cool, but it's not correct according to the extracted bass line. Somebody used software to extract the bass, so you could hear that it's pretty much the low E the whole entire time. And then you know this part? That whole thing, they have us going. I wasn't even using my Game Boy page holder right. Okay, now I am. So this part probably made me laugh the most out of anything in the book. At the end of this part of the solo, they want us to do this legato Joe Satriani type lick on the bass. I'm serious, that's what they wrote. I was so baffled by that I listened to the actual recording, and there's some weird sound in there, but it's not that. It's definitely not the bass guitar doing a Satriani lick. It's a good exercise, though. Okay, now the song that got me into metal, got me into Metallica, One. There are a lot of weird little things going on in this one, too. If you listen to the actual official isolated bass track, the beginning is mostly like this. In the book, they insist that you do an octave jump. That's not the end of the world, but all of a sudden they start throwing in these really weird fills for no reason, like this. It's a cool fill, but it's not really in the song. He actually goes like this. So it's a little easier. You stay down here the whole time. You don't have to jump up and do this crazy lick. Talk about complicating a part when it goes to the D part. The bass in the bass book goes like this. Look at all that sliding and chaos. What does it really do? Just goes like this. Once again, way easier when you do the real version. Now, I listened really hard to this next part just to see if maybe the book did get it right, but during the really fast snare blast part, they want the bass to follow it using 2 strings, so the octave thing. This book is obsessed with octaves. That's what I hear when I listen to it, just the E string. According to the book, they want us to add the octave above that, play 2 strings at that speed. Maybe he did that live, I'm not sure, but trying to do that to that speed at that part of the song, it's really hard to do it clean, and if you listen to it like I said, I really only hear the 1 string. Now here's another funny aspect of this. Whenever they put text under tab, it's usually funny to me. In this case it says, if not using a pick, play high E only. So if you're not using a pick, if you're doing the Cliff Burton, they want you to play the high E only, but that's funny because if you listen to the real version, it's the low E, so they completely mess that up. But then at the end, they flip it, and something really weird happens. Now it says, if not using a pick, play low E open only. So all of a sudden, we're doing the opposite of what they told us earlier, and I listened to it, and it's the same both ways, so I don't know why they put that. They also have us going all the way to the 19th fret while doubling up the E again. And if you weren't using a pick, I guess you're out of luck. You don't get to do the big octave jump at the end because it doesn't matter because you're playing just the low E string. Chaos. I've done other videos on the intro to The Shortest Straw. It has that really strange intro that sounds like it's free time. You know, it's the whenever the band feels like it. Seems real loose. It even says right here, not in strict time till bar 9. But if you put it on a grid, you could see that it's actually on the beat. It's 1, 2, 3, and 4. 3, 4. They get a pass though because they probably didn't have Pro Tools like I did and was able to line it up to a grid to really see what was going on, so I totally understand. I thought it was in free time as well for many, many years. When the faster riff kicks in, the bass is supposed to go like this. Killer riff. Once again, the book adds a bunch of notes for no reason. So if I played that up to speed, you have to go like this. When really you should just go like this. See how much more relaxed I could be when I do it the real way? It's because I'm not shoving a bunch of notes in there. I have to give credit where credit's due. He did a really great job with Harvester of Sorrow, even getting the beginning riff perfect. And then the next riff, he gets really, really close, actually. A lot of people think Jason does this part, which would be great. But if you watch live videos of him, he's actually doing something else, more like this. The book just does something that makes it a little more difficult than it has to be. Here's what the book says. See how fast you have to go from the 7th fret all the way to the 1st fret? So they want us to slide the first octave and then somehow come back up and then jump right back down. They also have us sliding up all the time on the 1st fret of the next part, which sounds a little bit corny. If you watch Jason live, he just goes. Sounds way more solid than sliding. The guitars can slide, but the bass player has to be solid there. Instead of. I love the song To Live Is To Die. It's one of the most beautiful Metallica songs, but the transcription of it kind of messes with it a little bit. Doesn't have the same power because of a few little details. So the book for the main riff has us going like this. That's okay, but if you listen to the isolated bass version, which by the way is another extracted using software version, there's definite slides going on in the bass. Even just a 1 fret slide off to the open string sounds way better than just holding the F sharp. So this is what the book has. But if you slide both the 2nd frets and the 3rd fret, it sounds way better. The next part seems really small, but when you're actually playing the song with a full band, you will appreciate this part. So where it does this, the ending is supposed to be 2nd fret to 3rd fret twice, which makes it really slick to go back to that F sharp. But in the book, they want us to continue to the 5th fret, which makes it sound a little bit weird. So that seems like a small thing, but when you grow up hearing the song, if you go up to that 5th fret, it just sounds different. It just doesn't sound right to me. Okay, we made it to Dyer's Eve, and I have a couple more compliments for Stevie G, the transcriber of this book. He did the timing correctly, and he did the picking correctly. He didn't have us go 2-3, 2-3, 2-3, you know, that old controversy. So he doesn't have us going like some people think it is. So he got this part right. But he gets the next part wrong, because it's really just supposed to be a bunch of E hits like this. Instead of just simple E hits, he has us going 2nd fret, 3rd fret open. Very strange. Makes it kind of hard to go back to the next part. During the guitar solo and the bridge, the bass part is incorrect in the bass book. Real version? Alright, so that's the bass tab book for Injustice for All. This video was a lot of fun. I love doing deep dives, learning what the real bass lines were. And it's a lot of fun to have this technology these days, like I said. I feel really spoiled. I feel really bad for Steve. But once again, you did great for the materials that you had on hand back then. Thank you for watching, everyone, and we'll catch you at the next video. Bye-bye.